Guys, welcome to another episode of Watch Diary. My name is Ryan Snelling. I'm very excited to be here with you today. On the other side of the country, his existence is a light one. It's Brando Hall. What's up, man?
Yes. So, another week, no video.
Yeah? What about air conditioning?
Air conditioning's fixed. It's been fixed.
Yeah.
But yeah, the video problem is not going away. I went to the Apple store, and it was just going to be more money than it's worth to fix it. So I'm just going to have to go out and get a third-party webcam.
Yeah.
And honestly, I've been looking in my mailbox every week thinking, Ryan's bound to just send me one. With all the millions we're getting from Audible.
Yeah.
You know.
I think I've done 2 of those free trials of Audible.
Nice.
Yeah. That's better enough.
So, yeah, I'm just waiting for that magic to hit my doorstep. No, I'm gonna have to go to Walmart and just see what they have.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm not gonna do anything crazy.
Well, I'm not pressuring you to get a webcam, so it's whatever you need for yourself is fine with me. I like the gag of you posting little different pictures every week. But also,
that's right.
We've got a couple of people that were concerned, though. They were like, did I miss what happened to Brando's equipment? What's going on? So,
yeah.
How are you feeling about Anthony Fantano v. Drake this morning?
What?
You don't know about this?
No.
That's what I was referencing when I introduced you on the podcast. Your existence is a light one.
I don't know what that means.
So, I guess Anthony Fantano did this bit where he posted a fake. He was just making a joke. He posted a DM exchange between him and Drake. Again, that was fake. That Drake reached out respectfully to be like, hey, I respect what you say about my music, even though you aren't my biggest fan. LOL, there's always the next one. Like, big cornball. And then a recipe for, like, vegan cookies. And it was like a breakdown of how to make vegan cookies, supposedly from Drake to Anthony Fantano, right? So it was just him being funny. Drake, who apparently the whole thing, this is based around the idea that Drake is obsessed with Fantano's takes on things and is a hater of Drake's music. So Drake, on Twitter or whatever, actually posted real DMs between him and Anthony Fantano and Drake DM'd Fantano saying your existence is a light one.
Is like, a light one?
Like rating it, like on a scale of 1 to 10, the way that Fantano rates music.
Oh yeah.
Your existence is a light one.
Amazing.
So check that out. It's pretty funny.
Here's what's crazy. You know about that, but do you know about this hubbub with Campia?
Yeah, I do.
And the new show Andor,
yeah. So
Andor.
I know what people are reacting to. I know what the reaction is. I don't see it the way that they do, but I also have the entire list. I want to hear it from you though. Like, what's your take? How did you absorb it? What's your reaction? And then if I need to intervene, I will.
So I was alerted to it through some mutual friends that you and I have.
Okay.
And it was just like, can you believe World War III? And then but then they were like, well, it's nothing but blah 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 blah. Can't believe it. Stop mentioning that name, blah blah blah. So I go look it up on Twitter, which I'm not on Twitter, don't find me.
Right.
I only go there for news and other bull crap. But I go there, and apparently he leaked something a day before the embargo, but he wasn't invited by Disney because he says he terminated that relationship, which sounds, what every content creator would do. Would say, Disney, don't invite me to these things. Don't send me these things. I'm John Gambia.
Right.
Mint Mobile. And so then he went over to a friend's house to view it or whatever, saw it, leaked some stuff a day early, and he's like, it's not a big deal, blah, 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 blah. Even though in the past he's come down on people for doing exactly what he just did.
Right.
So I just think it's silly. A, it's silly goose times. B, he doesn't matter. In the big scheme of things, he just doesn't matter. His takes are silly goose. He might be the luckiest guy, and I'm sure he's a hard worker. But like, you know, if you go to his Twitter, you'll see like, you know, he almost cried when he met Weird Al. So that's who we're dealing with.
Yeah. He's a weird guy. Some of his takes are so bizarre, but at the same time, it's not that big. Like, I just make fun of it because I think some of the stuff he says is silly. But like Shang-Chi is a top 5 MCU movie. So the thing that he said was that technically because he viewed it from like a couch somewhere,
Right.
he wasn't legally under embargo, because the people that are embargoed, it's like a mutual agreement. They're like, hey, we're the studio, your press, we give you this thing as long as you talk about it when we say. So because he didn't have that, technically, legally, he's right. He didn't have to obey anything. So basically what happened was the people, the pundits, the journalists and everybody, the press that had seen it just like he had, but had to wait, they just got mad that he didn't have to wait. So you did mention a few key details. You actually got like spot on. Like,
Heck yeah.
he said he cut off his relationship with Disney, as you mentioned, Disney Press, and he said that it was for reasons that his crew knew about, but he wasn't going to say on air. And they all just kind of nodded. Of course, what else are you gonna do when you work for Campia and you're being recorded? But I don't think it was that big of a deal, because the second I heard that like just the pundits like were upset that they had to hide their reviews and he didn't, I kind of just rolled my eyes like, this stuff is stupid. Especially at the end of the day, what Disney actually probably doesn't care that Campia did it. Disney cares that the headache was caused, that people complained. Because Campia gave a raving review. So why would Disney care that the press around it was already positive?
But here's the thing that's silly. He's getting exactly what he wanted by doing this.
Oh, 100%.
Because we're talking about it.
100%.
And then he goes on his show and he's like, a Disney exec called me like furious.
Yeah.
It's like, number one.
I love that.
Do they have your number?
Oh, like, of course they do.
Yeah. He
knows people that work at every studio.
Oh, I'm sure. And he probably does a Ryan Snelling where he calls or emails them over and over until they finally give him what he wants.
Yeah. No, I mean, he knows a lot of stuff about things that we don't even know about. 100%. Yeah. So.
Oh, I'm sure. But still, it's silly. It's dumb.
Of course it is.
I hate the guy's takes, so it doesn't matter. He crapped all over RRR, and he's an idiot.
Oh, you want to know what he like? For some reason, has such a hard time criticizing. Is what? She-Hulk.
Why?
I don't know. I think it's because at the end of the day, no matter what, She-Hulk is a light show. It's breezy. Like, and I guess we're gonna get right into this because this was your assignment this week, and I'll tell you, it kind of came entirely from the fact that I didn't want to talk about Rings of Power. That's honestly it. It was like, I don't know if I want to do Rings of Power again. We'll circle back in a later episode. It's the mid-season point for She-Hulk. We have seen 5 out of 9 episodes, and you hadn't seen any of them. You're still kind of working on your Phase 4 first watch, right?
That's right.
So you didn't see any of this, which this is like a good show to enter in on because you don't really need a whole lot of... I mean, this first episode with Banner kind of tells you everything you need to know to set up for this show. It's not that consequential to everything else so far. So you just like dropped in in the past 24 hours you watched these episodes?
That's right. Started last night.
So just to make sure everybody knows, we're discussing, and we're up through episode 5. So everything that's been released is fair game here. So your assignment: watch She-Hulk. How did you feel about it?
So I'm going to read the text message that I sent you about it.
All right.
So just to say, like, is Eternals Phase 4?
It is.
Okay, it's not good. Eternals is not a good movie.
Okay. So we're talking about She-Hulk.
No, I know. We're going to get there.
Okay.
So I'm just trying to explain, like, Phase 4, it's not been great.
It hasn't. Nope.
And so I was excited to watch this because I saw a video, like a trailer of She-Hulk twerking. And so that told me everything I needed to know about this show.
Yeah.
And so this is what I sent you initially. So on the first episode, I sent you this text that says, "Is this show just about I am woman, hear me roar?" And then immediately I followed that with, "Please don't share that take. It's just for us."
That's right.
Because, but now I have a chance to at least explain myself. Episode 1. I think this show, I think it's cheap how she gets her powers. If that's the way it works, then anyone who's ever come in contact with Hulk's blood could be a Hulk. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
So-
that goes all the way back to the Incredible Hulk with there's like a whole sequence where a drop of blood gets into one of the sodas in the soda factory he works in, and then it like cuts away to Stan Lee drinking it and he dies. Of course.
Hell yeah.
Of course, well, no, Abomination gets the super soldier serum, but I believe it's Tim Blake Nelson's character that, if I remember correctly, he gets some of the blood or super soldier. I can't remember exactly what causes him to change, but yeah, there is that idea kind of already out there. But yeah, go ahead.
So I'm thinking, like, there are shows that are woke, that I would say, and from the controversies I've seen online, a bunch of people have a problem with this show because they say it's woke and it's just so different from what they were expecting. Blah blah. I don't care about any of that.
Right.
What I care about is pandering. And sometimes, like, so in a show like Euphoria is woke and it's good.
Yeah.
A show like, I guess it's not harder to do with comedy because most of the comedy in this show is not necessarily just a woke fest. And as someone who I would consider myself as woke, some of the stuff in this series seemed pandery.
Right.
It seemed like it was punching down. And so that, like, episode 1, some of that stuff, you're just like, oh my God, this is so stupid. But I got over it immediately. And I just pushed some of that stuff to the side and said, you know what? I'm not going to let that stuff get to me. The people that stuff gets to don't vote like I vote. Don't act like I act. So I continue to watch the show, and here's my take. It could have been the best CW show ever on that channel because it's light, it's breezy, it's inconsequential,
right.
and it's fun. So I think the thing I think about this show so far is that it's fun and it's fine.
Right.
Like it's not trying to be anything big, and it's none of the consequences. Like, all of the characters we've seen are like side characters except for Bruce Banner.
Right.
Like Woo's a side character.
Wong.
Whatever. Wong.
Woo.
He's a side character. Okay.
I mean,
he
yeah.
is.
So.
Oh, do you remember that movie Wong? Oh, that's right.
What?
You don't. There's no movie called Wong.
Yeah,
and there
I know.
never will be because he's a sidekick to Doctor Strange.
Okay, so to go off of what you said, I think that the show wants to be a lot of things. And I don't think it does anything particularly well. I think it does them all poorly. Honestly, it has to be poorly.
Okay.
It has to be poorly because I can't think of like what this show's strength is other than I respect it for doing something different. I respect Marvel anytime it does something a little bit different, but I'm kind of slowly realizing that I'm not buying that anymore as well. When they come out and say, "Oh, this is our lawyer show," or "This is our paranoid political thriller," or "This is our heist movie," honestly, it still all has the same tone to me. So whenever they like flash at us, "Oh, this is the kind of thing that this movie is. This is the kind of thing. This is our coming of age John Hughes." It's still tone wise the same as everything else. So it doesn't actually feel like an Andor you mentioned earlier. Andor actually feels like the show that should transcend Disney Plus. None of these shows transcend Disney Plus because let's be real. None of us should be acting like Disney Plus has made amazing, incredible television landscape content. I guess what I'm shows that transcend the Marvel or Star Wars label. They're not just like peak TV by any means. Are you going to disagree with me?
I don't know, because I felt like the Falcon and Winter Soldier show was super strong.
I loved that show, and I loved I think WandaVision's probably the closest.
Haven't seen it,
but still. The Falcon and Winter Soldier, the amount of time that I spent thinking about it or discussing it, it's still, I think about it inside this Marvel box. It's not a television series that I need to talk about, like The Rehearsal or like Succession. It's like they just keep themselves in this box, which works, but I'm just slowly growing out of it. I just feel like I'm growing out of some of the MCU, and the more that they give us, the more I realize I fall into pockets. Like the Falcon and Winter Soldier, I prefer the boots on the ground. It's why I'm most excited about Daredevil, which, like, She-Hulk could have been that, but it starts out, it goes cosmic, it goes into this law thing where, like, it's not even a good law show, in my opinion. I don't think it's a good law show. I don't think it's a good show for Jennifer Walters. I don't think it does enough with her. I don't think it does enough with the fourth wall breaks. I don't think it does enough with anything. And
yeah, I think you're being too harsh on it.
I don't hate it. I'm just calling it for what it is. I don't think it's. It might be my least favorite Disney Plus show.
No, because a show called Hawkeye exists.
Hawkeye's better than this.
There's no way.
Hawkeye.
I've not seen one. Is Jeremy Renner in it?
It is, or he is.
Then it's not better.
Yes, it is.
It can't. No, it can't be. Because he's. Don't bring up. Is that Bieber's wife?
No, Haley Steinfeld, Florence Pugh. That's where we got Kingpin for the first time. There's a lot more greatness in Hawkeye than there is in She-Hulk.
No, She-Hulk's better, and because Jeremy Renner's not in it, and if he is in it, then they're both trash. But what I'll say about She-Hulk is it's not a law show. You know, I've heard people say that it's not a law show. She happens to be a lawyer, but it's not a law show. It is a show about this character and her navigating this world, right? So I know it's called She-Hulk Attorney at Law, so it literally is a law show, but it's not.
And aside from the premiere, it's a case of the week law show.
It's a procedural for sure.
Yeah,
but it's like, but that's what she does. But it's not a normal law show, I should say. It's not trying to be.
It's not only a law show, which just goes back to my point. It has a lot of things in its identity, and I don't think it succeeds any of them.
Yeah, the way I feel, these are 30-minute, episodes, 25 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever. It's not meant to be anything big. This is their take. This is their, like, Thor TV show. Do you know what I mean? When I say that, like, tonally different, this is fun. This is just like, fast food TV, fun, because Jessica Walters is a nothing character. Nothing. Okay? Hey, nerds, nothing. Kevin Marks, nothing. Jessica Walters is dead.
Her name is Jennifer, not Jessica.
It's Jennifer Walters?
It is.
Okay. Well, Jessica Walters is the name of
which kind of proves your point
old lady
while also
on Arrested
proving
Development.
my point. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Wong is a nothing character. What was the name? Titania or Titanium, whatever. Nothing. I don't know if she was created just for this, but
she wasn't.
There's probably. Oh, okay, great.
So
well,
again,
she doesn't matter.
As always, your messaging is very mixed, considering you're defending the show while also saying its lead character and other characters are nothing. So, like,
no, because this is what Marvel has to do now that Tony Stark's dead. They are going to try to bring in these things because we know that Daredevil is going to make an appearance somewhere, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, that's a nothing character. And so, like, all these nothing characters, Ben Affleck, okay? All these nothing characters are going to come together and try to make you care about them as much as you cared about the first round. And it's just never going to happen. Because the first round of Avengers meant something. Okay?
Well,
and
also, their stories were told better.
Yeah. 1,000%.
I mean, compare any origin story in the MCU. She-Hulk is not that great. I mean, in a way, you had to kind of fast forward a lot of her prep, her training, and everything, which is fine, but there's a better version of this. There's a version of this where you enjoy longer, deeper episodes. If you want, cut back on the CGI even more. Give us the more boots on the ground, Jennifer Walters centric story where she's trying to come to terms with She-Hulk legally, and we'll go with it. Give us
she doesn't earn anything. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's the same thing with, like, people who complained about Rey, even though Rey's awesome, is She-Hulk gets the powers and can immediately do all the things that took the Hulk a year. Or years. You know what I mean?
I actually don't even, like, care about that.
Hold on. So that when she's struggling with these things now, you're like, well, I don't care because I haven't seen your journey to get here. You're a middling lawyer who, so this is another thing I hate. So they act like this actress isn't a gorgeous woman. And I hate when they do that with these, because they're like, oh, I would never be interested in her normal 100%.
Form. I tweeted that last week after the dating episode. When the guy comes out and sees her in her Jennifer form and makes a face, I tweeted a picture of his disgusted face saying that this was the most expensive CGI shot in the show.
I saw that, yeah.
Because they had to show that a guy doesn't become attracted to Tatiana Maslany, who... She's been my crush ever since I've seen her on Orphan Black. I think she's incredible. She's a wonderful actress, and she is better than this show. Like, this show is beneath her. I said it the last time I talked about it on this channel.
She needs to be making movies like Waterworld again. I thought that this actress was the little kid from Waterworld because they look just alike. Or the girl from Napoleon Dynamite.
No.
You know.
Anyway.
Yeah, they look just alike, except for she's younger. It's like Bizarro her. Anyway, Tatiana is very attractive, and so they're like, ooh, I would never be interested in you. I'm like, now I'm out. I don't buy anything. Like, this is so fake. Like, if you are and she's like dating in your 30s, am I right? And she had like 0 matches on that Tinder app. I'm like, honey, in real life, I'm guessing, I've never had a Tinder, never hoped to be on Tinder, but if you have a Tinder and you're female and you're 30 and single, you're going to have to get a new phone. Do you know what I mean? To hold all that stuff. So there's some of that stuff that's not believable because they're trying to make this character like, because this character just gets everything immediately. And so when she says she's not beautiful or she's struggling with blah, 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 riding the struggle bus, you're like, no, you're young. You're a lawyer. I don't feel bad for you. you're fine. And so, no. But, so the mixed messaging could become, because all those are criticisms, I guess. But I think this show is fine. Like, I think it's fun. It's mindless. It's the same way I like, we don't break down episodes of, I don't know, Arrested Development. Like, not every episode of The Rehearsal, which you called God tier TV, was good. Not every episode was. There was some moments and some decisions that I'm like, this is stupid. Why are you doing this? So I don't think we break down that kind of media the same way we are this. And I think this is a superhero show. It doesn't need to be anything other than a stupid superhero show, which is what it is.
But it's not. That's my point, is that it's not. Because again,
why is it not?
Because they haven't done anything with their superhero power. The cliffhanger of episode 3 was a gang trying to take her blood, and they haven't addressed it for 2 weeks. Like, if all you have to do is make these episodes longer, and you can have one scene that discusses that, and then that's all you have to do. If you want to keep us hanging on to see what's going to happen, all you have to do is at least mention that it happened to you.
But they don't need to.
But they kind of do.
Why?
They kind of do, the same way that they feel like they need to do a case of the week, because they also want to be a lawyer show. It's the same problem, but they are prioritizing while still not doing a great job. So I'm kind of talking about what I'm talking about. And don't confuse me for saying, I agree with everything you said. It's breezy, it's light, it's fun. I probably would have preferred to just binge it the way that you did, because I've been waiting week to week. And when I sit down week to week and get essentially a YouTube short film, Kevin Feige's become a great YouTube short producer, all-time great.
Yeah.
I get a little peeved. Because all the decisions they gloat about, they talk about how they love creating content that's 6 hours worth, which when you put 9 episodes at about 35 minutes or whatever, I guess Kevin Feige's talked about how every episode is going to be 6 hours, whether it's 9 episodes of 35, whatever it is. So when you make decisions like that, or when you are just pooping all this stuff out the way that they are, I think it's valid to have some of these concerns and questions, because they could have maybe not made it into The Sopranos, or, I'm not talking about going that far, but just
shout out to Wong.
Narrow your focus and actually be any one of these things that it thinks it wants to be. Even if it wants to double down on the lawyer stuff, I don't think it's a great lawyer show. Even if it wants to double down on the case of the week, like defending superheroes. We kind of haven't really defended superheroes yet. She took on Titania because it was a trademark on a perfume company. It's like, I just... Hilarious. I just don't think it's succeeding particularly well at anything. And I think the way you consumed it, I am envious of. Because...
Yeah. Because it was light. It was awesome. It was like 30 minutes. I didn't have to sit down to an hour episode of a bunch of boring Harfoots walking around.
But here's the thing, too. I think when you and I meet back up, at the end of the year or a year from now, we're both going to have the same reaction to this show. I think your reaction... I think we agree on a lot of things, but I think the way that you digested it, I think gives you the greatest, most positive perspective right now. But in 6 months, you and I are going to feel the exact same way about it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is going to care about this show long term.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
There's no way.
Yeah.
But it's fun while it's here.
Okay.
It's like a high school relationship. Unless you're one of those very strange, and it is strange, people that meet in high school and get married. That's weird. It's weird if you get married right out of high school, or especially if you're still in high school, which they should make that illegal. But if you get married to your high school sweetheart, I know a few people who are, and they're great people, but it's weird. You know, most of those things are flavors of the week, right? You know, remember that band All American Rejects?
That's right.
Solid band. When's the last time you looked up one of their songs? Never. It's fine. Right? That's how people are going to think about She-Hulk. Yeah, it was fine.
She-Hulk is the all-American rejects of television.
Yeah, she's Avril Lavigne, like Skater Boy, okay? It was fun. It was great. But
she actually is an Avril Lavigne. Jennifer Walters has a lot of work to do before she gets on Avril Lavigne tier. That's for sure.
Yeah, she's got to marry the dude from Nickelback.
They divorced.
Well, it's because he put out a new song.
So I'm actually really, really surprised by your reaction, though. Like,
yeah, you think I would hate it?
You got your jokes in there at the expense of Jeremy Renner and a couple of other things. You did have criticisms, but I expected you to lay into this.
Okay.
But again, I'm glad that you found something that you like about Phase 4.
Yeah, I mean, was No Way Home Phase 4?
It was.
Okay, that's the best thing about Phase 4.
100%. You were correct.
Easily. But again, I didn't know there was a Phase 3 or a Phase 2. So, because I'm not a nerd, I just watch movies when they come out. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, it would be cool to see She-Hulk. I'd like to see where the show ends. Which I don't think we're going to get any big, like, twists or turns. I mean, they'll do what they do in these procedural shows where they'll have, like, little cliffhangers. But, like, this show is what it is. I don't think it's tonally going to shift and change into a different show, you know, coming up. So, it would be cool if she gets utilized in any other way.
And I will say that it's also very important to note I don't like procedural television, at all. So that might be another disconnect that I have.
Seinfeld's a procedural.
Yeah, but that's a whole other conversation.
It is, but it's not.
But I mean, I think what you're speaking to though is a sitcom structure where it has your A story, your B story, intro, middle, conclusion. And this show, again, if it wants to have a sitcom type feel, I don't think it does that well either. Because I don't even think it's that funny. I don't think this show is funny, and I don't think it does the sitcom model. It just claims that identity, but it doesn't really have it.
It's like Modern Family without the cutaways to the interviews. But she does break the fourth wall sometimes.
Yeah, but even that, it's nothing.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Modern Family is also a nothing show. Yeah, it was fine while it was on, but it's nothing. It's not like Schitt's Creek, which turned all that on its head. Like, Schitt's Creek is a show I'll fight people for.
Modern Family is a lot better than She-Hulk.
Oh, yeah. Oh, sure. Okay. Yeah, but who cares? When's the last time you looked up a Modern Family episode? This has been off air for a minute.
Has it?
Yeah. Do you want to know why you haven't looked it up? Because it's nothing. It was there. Now it's not. It's a dude from Married with Children. Okay.
All right. Good to know.
Did you watch the new Rings of Power episode?
No, I haven't. I'm not gonna lie. Even before we started recording, I texted you. I was like, I don't even have to put out an episode of Watch Diary this week. I've been so overwhelmed and stressed. And it's all on me. It's all on me. It's 100% my fault. I was working very hard this week on these watch-along videos that I'm going to start putting out on the channel. And I was going to make this big announcement about it. But I've very quickly decided that it's not going to be what I thought it was. So that's why there hasn't been an official announcement as to what I've been doing, which is fine. But I'm also just going to do my content creator thing where I'm transparent and just being real and being 100. But I've been working so hard on editing these watch-alongs that I've kind of welcomed just getting rid of everything on my plate. So last night I was supposed to go see the movie Pearl, the X prequel.
Yeah.
and I saw The Woman King before it, and I wanted to talk to you about Woman King, but I had such a great time watching The Woman King, and I was just thinking about the watch along that I had to go home and edit, so I didn't watch Pearl. So The Rings of Power episode 4 was another one of those casualties that I've just gotten rid of a whole bunch of stuff on my plate to work on these watch alongs.
Have you heard anything about this episode?
Not a single thing.
Okay, are you ready?
Sure.
Dude, everything changed. It's going to be the premiere show on TV for years to come.
You're lying. I can't see your face.
It's boring, and it's just more of the same old boring. I dreaded watching this show so much. It feels like homework at this point. I put it on, and the story is progressing still at a snail's pace. And so, sometimes people are like, I wish these shows wouldn't move so fast. Maybe what happened is that the creators of this show saw how much flack season 7 of Game of Thrones got.
Right.
Because everything moved too fast, that they're like, no, let's really take our time. But nothing is happening. Like, it's barely moving.
Right.
And I would argue in this episode, more things happened than ever. We found out several things. We went to a few different locations, but I'm still like, I just don't care. Like, The Witcher is a better show than this show. Man, I don't know. It's, I don't think anything is going to surprise you. History is definitely not going to be changed for TV. It's just, I think Amazon just wanted to light $1 billion on fire and piss off a bunch of people.
Yeah, I think I'm starting to get there as well. I'm starting because I really want to give them the benefit of the doubt, because they haven't produced a lot of shows yet, and but look, it's a mid-season point for them too, just like She-Hulk. There's only 4 more episodes. Think about it. So I haven't seen the episode, but again, just based on what you said, it hasn't gotten going at any point. Like, what are we doing with this season? There's 4 episodes left, and we don't know what it is. So,
yeah, it's. Are you all caught up on Game of Thrones?
100%.
It's amazing,
and it's way better. But it's
way better.
It's better than everything. To be fair, I mean, it's one of my favorite shows of the year. So
yeah,
not to just compare the 2 fantasy shows, but I mean, House of the Dragon's better than everything I've watched this year. So
I enjoyed myself way more during She-Hulk than I did during Rings of Power,
and that's fair. It's 100% fair. I mean, I get it.
Yeah.
She-Hulk asks way less of you.
I mean, yeah, Amazon gave us The Boys. Mm-hmm. Okay? They also gave us Samaritan, which you brought up not too long ago.
That was different. They bought distribution from something that was already made.
They didn't create that.
I think same with The Boys. I mean, The Boys, I don't think The Boys was developed in-house. I think it was just pitched and they bought it. But anyway.
Oh, okay.
I don't know that.
Okay. Well, whatever happened, something's wrong with the Rings of Power. Okay? Yeah. We haven't even seen a ring, and it's episode 4. How many episodes of the? So there's 8 of Rings of Power.
Yep.
9 of She-Hulk, and then how many of Game of Thrones?
10.
Oh, sweet. So we get way more Game of Thrones than we're getting. Thank God. So yeah, it's just, if you're out there and you're really enjoying the show, I just don't understand you. Like, I get wanting to like the show. I totally get convincing yourself even that, oh, it's okay. But I'm telling you, it's not. It's boring, and I'm 5 seasons, no way. No way.
I don't know. Maybe they'll restructure. I mean, but then again, here's another thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I wanted to talk to you about it when we talked at the top of She-Hulk. So I read this interesting thing on Twitter, and I wanted your take on it. It's this idea that shows and studios know that, because let's be real, content over the last few years has been so neutered because of social media. I think studios are afraid to take risks at the off chance of being too off color or offending people. I mean, that's why comedy movies have just disappeared from Hollywood. There's this idea that studios know when they have something that will offend a certain crowd, but will also have a crowd that will equally defend it. And Rings of Power was an example of this. So basically, this idea that studios are counting on and banking on political, social commentary discussions being had, and that's what actually, at the end of the day, helps their show. And it also runs the risk of actually being something that doesn't really work in their favor if they're trying to accomplish a social message, or because the material doesn't live up to it. So like, I think that's why there are certain things that come out that are progressive, but we don't even have a single conversation about them being progressive because they don't ask us to. But then there are other things that ask us to, and studios and people just bank on that. So I'm not saying I agree with it or believe it. I just think it's an interesting idea. But they used Rings of Power as an example of something that I don't know if they knew. I'm not saying they knew that some of the stuff was weak, but it's something that they could rely on for us to talk about this show. And it has people divided.
Oh, I think they knew immediately that this show was a stinker. Like, they spent this money, and they get in the editing room, and then someone has to say, uh-oh. And I want to know who was the person that had to go up to whatever and go, uh-oh, guys, this sucks. Because someone has to say it. Because, I mean, you've made music, I've made music, and even if we just made it, if I think it sucks, I'm going to say it sucks. Right? Is that how you are, or do you pretend to like it for a minute?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's situations where I know something sucks, or I don't like it instinctively, but I'll go along with it, or I learn to like it, or I give it a chance. I mean, it varies.
Did you ever do guest vocals on anybody's record?
Yes.
Okay, was the song you did guest vocals on good?
It was fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I didn't dislike it or anything.
I've played on people's records. I've played different instruments, and knowing that I have to promote it and it sucks. I've done that. So I know that's the feeling that those Amazon people have putting this stuff out. They're like, well, hopefully the lore and it looks good. So when they, whoever when Daddy Bezos comes in and he goes, okay, someone give me an update on my $1 billion that we spend on this show. And someone's going to come up and be like, Jeff, it looks amazing. And he's like, heck yeah. Does a line of coke off somebody's nude body. Right. Comes back up and he's like, heck yeah, love that it looks good. How good is the show? Oh, the lore is it's incredible. Like, it's building off all this Tolkien. How could it be bad, Bezos? And he's like, oh, man. So he shoots like a foreign child, does another line of coke, and then he's like, is it good? And they're like, and then he, murders and pillages whatever Jeff Bezos does. So someone had to get that conversation, but I think they knew it was bad when they released the first 2 episodes together. When has a 2-episode release ever been good?
That's actually usually a good way to do something like that. I mean, Andor's going to release the first 3 episodes at a time, and I think that's strategic in a positive way.
How?
Because
hey, we made something really great. Let's release it now. But then make people wait.
Rings of Power is not a good example of this in retrospect, but the idea is to just give you more of a meal. and to give you a better idea of what it is. So
Sure, but
they
when has
must
it been used for good?
they must have been extremely like that's kind of goes against what you were saying. Is it was either a move out of desperation to give us more to distract us from Game of Thrones because they premiered in the same week, or
So
I don't know.
it seems like it would be a tactic that if you're introducing something new or anticipated, you do a 1 hour release, right? A 1 hour initial episode, or you do two at one time. But I'm trying to remember the first episode of Lost. Is it just a normal episode?
I mean, it was technically a two-part just because it was on a network, so it had two primetime slots.
Back to back.
So technically, there's like a pilot part one, pilot part two. But if you sat down and watched it on opening night, it was that same night.
Okay, so Game of Thrones, did they do that?
No, but it's apples and oranges though.
Oh, well, it's not apples and oranges in comparison to Ring of Power.
No, well, because Game of Thrones premiered pre-streaming. It was the way that HBO.
No.
Yes, it did.
What year did Game of Thrones come out?
I don't know, like what, '08 or something?
No way.
Yeah, it did. HBO Now and Go didn't exist when Game of Thrones premiered. I watched it on a torrent.
I'm looking it up.
I'm telling you the truth.
You
HBO
can't
Max.
be trusted.
HBO Max is like 3 years old. So.
First episode was in 2011.
Oh, okay. Well, even so, it still was. It still debuted on traditional HBO pre-streaming.
HBO Go.
I watched it on a torrent. I plugged up my
That's 'cause
laptop.
you're cheap.
No, this was when I collected physical media. I plugged
you're
up my
wrong.
laptop. No, I'm not wrong.
No, I just looked it up. HBO Go was 2010. Game of Thrones.
HBO Go was when you paid for HBO.
No.
Like, what I'm saying is the strategy of Sunday night HBO at 9, it premiered as a TV show, not as a streaming show.
No. Listen to me. In 2010, HBO released HBO Go, an internet streaming service on which subscribers could watch HBO programming.
That's my point. Game of Thrones was not made for HBO Go. HBO Go was just HBO on the internet. So it didn't change the release strategy, is my point. It wasn't a show, a content developed for a streaming service. It was developed as traditional television for years.
But they still did it.
HBO Now was when HBO actually went to streaming, but shows weren't HBO Now exclusives. It was just still HBO. HBO Max is the very first time, so 3 years, when they developed something for the streaming service. And technically, House of the Dragon still isn't even that, because it's not an HBO Max original. So like Flight Attendant, Hacks, these are all shows that you're talking about, but not House of the Dragon and not Game of Thrones.
Yeah. So you proved my point right, that you could have watched Game of Thrones on HBO Go back in 2010.
Yes, but that wasn't what you were initially talking about. You were initially challenging the idea of home release.
Okay. So
which is also wildly different from Lost, which is what I was responding to.
They all are released once a week. Okay? They all release once a week, so it's exactly the same.
Okay, it's different strategies. And
but it's the same.
Okay.
So I can't think of a show that released 2 episodes at once that was good, but it's just because my memory sucks. There may be one where you're like, oh, what about blah, blah, blah? You know, what about freaking, what was that show we watched and it was terrible?
Castle Rock?
Castle Rock. Yeah.
Actually, that was actually a thing for a while. I think when Hulu started their original programming, they started doing multiple episodes at a time. But I think they were experimenting with it because they wanted to be the in between.
Yeah.
So there was like that Billy Eichner show, Difficult People. Like when Hulu started, yeah, they were messing with that more than anybody. I think releasing multiple episodes
Yeah.
at once, but I don't think they do that anymore.
Thank God. So all we've learned is that Amazon wasted $1 billion, and but 2-day shipping is incredible.
Can we just go back, if we stumbled upon this? Can we go back to the fact that I watched the premiere of HBO for the first time? A friend had, I can't remember what the program was, but it was like uTorrent, or it was a torrent thing, and
Bear share.
he had Game of Thrones downloaded, and we plugged my laptop up via HDMI to my TV and had my laptop on the floor, and that's how I saw Game of Thrones for the very first time. And if because you obviously know this, but just in case people don't remember, HBO Go, you could only use it, even though it was on streaming, you could only use it if someone had subscribed to
That's right.
the cable company, or the premium cable company of HBO. So it was still pointless for me to use it. HBO Go was not something I could use because I didn't have HBO.
But you could have got a password or something. Go ahead.
But I didn't know people that were willing. I think one person finally gave me their password, and it was like their dads who had like never met. So like it was like this weird. It just wasn't like how it is now. Because I felt like I was asking. I felt like I was actually stealing, which I am actually stealing if you have password sharing. But it like felt like criminal because I was like asking for HBO passwords, and I did. It just was completely different than it is now. And so that's how I watched a lot of. I think I watched the entire first season of The Leftovers on somebody else's HBO Go. And it was, again, I'm pretty sure, like a laptop plugged into my TV situation. Isn't that crazy?
Does your mom have HBO?
My mom has my HBO Max now.
Okay. I
All
was about to
these
say
years later.
my parents have my HBO Max too.
Yeah.
Don't come after us.
The first time I watched Game of Thrones, this first season, it was on a Blu-ray set. I mean, I when the entire first season was out, I still couldn't watch it. It was on Blu-ray. I watched that first season.
Here's what's stupid. How much seasons of TV cost on Blu-ray or DVD? It's insane. But I remember going and renting seasons.
Yeah.
Like when that Family Guy box set came out way back when, like 2004 or 5, you could rent, but you couldn't rent them all at once. You would have to rent like episodes 1 through 5 or 2 through whatever. So stupid. Just put it together and make it $30, $35. Stupid.
Yeah, I'm not sure how I feel about that either. Same with video games. I think video games are so expensive. But,
$60?
No, they're more expensive on the new gen. Like they're all like $80, $70 or $80 for PS5 and Xbox One.
Well, on Switch, they're $60.
Well, that's the previous gen. Anyway,
how dare you?
And also, I think prices need to vary more depending on what type of game it is. And I know that like this, like Madden, there's no reason any sports game should be at the base price of $60. No reason.
It should all be updates. It should be downloadable content because your precious game, no one wants to play Madden's player feature all the way through.
I agree with you 100%. So if you buy a sports game every year, first of all, just make them cheaper. If you want to buy every year, you want to buy Madden for $40, I think that is so fair. But if you also buy Madden, and there should be an option where you like upgrade the rosters and maybe a couple of features, like it's literally a software update, like you said, for $10.
That's right.
Like think about that, and I think it's kind of we're getting there because now we're just moving to digital entirely for games, and some games are
Yeah.
just put digital. But if I buy Madden 2022 or Madden 22 or whatever, and every year I want to do an update, and maybe it's not the full game. Like maybe it's not, maybe they develop Madden 23, they have a different engine, different graphics, whatever. Maybe that stays that for $40. But if I bought Madden 22 and I wanted the updated rosters and maybe a feature or like a game type or something for an extra $10, and
15.
I could have a different game every year for $10, $15, yes. That's how it should be done. Like
That's right.
This is just a baseline. Hey, video games that come out, they start at $60. No. I'm sorry. Some video games.
I agree.
And what's weird is they kind of already do this, but again, 60 is the base price. Because think about it. If you buy a collector's edition of Call of Duty, it's an extra $20. If you get, I don't know, it's an extra $20 for like, it comes with a beret. Like what, or something like that. So they kind of already have this system, but $60 is too expensive for still some games. Like, and I think they kind of toyed with this a little bit. Like I think like if they released Plants vs Zombies, the physical copy, I think that was cheaper or something like that. But they need to do this more. And so I agree. I agree 100% that TV is a little too expensive, but it should also just vary more based on what the TV was.
And if it's downloaded, like if you don't have to have the physical disc to play the game, it should be way cheaper.
Yeah.
Way cheaper. I got to go.
Oh, you got to go. Okay. That's fine.
I love you.
I love you too. Guys, that's it for Brando. I'm going to talk about The Woman King and whatever that other movie was real quick. But
the
Brando,
Queen? She's dead.
Okay. I'll see you later.
Bye.
Sorry for that abrupt ending, guys. I forgot. And it's totally my fault. Brando had to leave to go pick up his kids, and I woke up late. And it's all because I was up late last night. I got super high, and I was editing these stupid videos. And the videos aren't stupid. The process of uploading to YouTube and avoiding copyright is exhausting. And part of it's my fault, and part of it's like a learning process. Like I'm figuring out how to avoid it, and I'm kind of figuring out what they look for when they go to strike stuff. So it's been helpful, but at the same time, like right now, I uploaded my 10th pass at a watch along, 10th, and it finally took it. And that doesn't it like that's for right now. That's like an immediate like copyright check. Like any video that you upload to YouTube, they do like an immediate one, but that doesn't mean that a studio or whatever can't find it at a later date. And I keep using the word strike. I meant copyright claim, because 3 strikes and you're out. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about just the idea of like, hey, we found some copyrighted material. We're going to take the money instead, but you're not in trouble. That's the kind of thing I'm just trying to avoid altogether, because it's just BS that these studios do this in general. But I'm figuring out slowly but surely what they like and don't like. And so anyway, so that's a whole thing. And I kind of hate that I haven't done a formal announcement, but it's not going to be the thing that I thought it was. So that's why I haven't. And so honestly, just to get it out of the way, I've kind of already hinted at it. I'm going to start doing watch-alongs on the channel. And initially, it was going to be 31 days, 31 horrors, and I was going to do one a day, every day for the month of October. And I legitimately thought I could do it. I was so wrong. So wrong. I think I just had it in my head that it would be easy to watch 31 movies or watch a movie a day. And I gave myself, I started on September 3rd. So 13, almost 2 weeks ago. I started then, and it took me, so I started that day with the movie Psycho. And then I didn't get to the second movie until a week later. So in the past week, I've done, I think, 4 total, and that's been plenty. And not to mention all the different edits and passes and all the things that I have to change and continuously, like, so I'm not, the process has been mostly positive, and I am enjoying, some of the videos are awesome. Some of the videos aren't that great. I've kind of noticed, it's crazy how, at least for me so far, because I'm new to this, it's crazy how the quality of the watch along depends on the quality of the experience in the movie. Like I haven't had that movie yet that I don't like, but also turned it into a positive experience because they've kind of just made me miserable or bored. Um, but it's funny how that's worked out. But when I really am into the movie, the watch along is great. So I'm learning. They're getting better and better. I'm getting better and better at editing. But anyway, I've just kind of been exhausted this week, and that's why I haven't watched Rings of Power. And I initially planned on watching two movies last night, and I only watched one. And it's because it was such a positive experience. I just decided, you know what? It's not going to get better than that. I'm going to go home and eat some Buffalo Wild Wings. So, that movie that I watched last night that was incredible was The Woman King. I was always intrigued by this, but I also wasn't following that much. So, I believe the reviews and everything are out. I think the release date was originally in October, but it got moved up, probably because nothing's going on. So it kind of surprised me how quickly it was in theaters based on when I initially heard about it. And right now, at the time that I'm recording this, it has a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes, a 99% audience score. This movie is the real deal. Talk about historical epics. I mean, we've already had The Northman, which is incredible. I think that this is right up there with it. It's an action history film, and I've done a little bit of digging, and I don't think this movie is historically accurate. I think some people definitely have a problem with its inaccuracies. Like, apparently the actual person that this is based off of, it was a lot worse of a situation in terms of the involvement of slavery, and actually like the tribe and everything wasn't as good and pure and holy as it like tries to be in the movie. So I think the movie took its own liberties to package it neatly and make it a better story, which the story is fantastic. I just don't think it's rooted. But I feel like you could also say that about Braveheart. I mean, you can say that a lot about these historical epics that take their own liberties. So I am entirely just judging the movie without judging the actual story, because apparently some of the behaviors and the qualities of these tribes and characters aren't as pure and holy and incredible as they've been depicted in this film. But with that said, this movie is awesome. And I was quite surprised at how, and I'm talking about the budget, I'm talking about the production. I'm surprised at how mid-level it is. Because this movie is either going to be like super small, like even smaller than like say the Northman, or about around the Northman. Actually, the Northman was kind of medium level too. The idea that this movie just wasn't a small package, and it also wasn't a Marvel movie. The idea that there was actual like some production value in it, and it might not make its money back just based on how it's been marketed and everything. Because I haven't really seen it around that much. I've just been paying attention to this kind of stuff, so that's the reason why. Even a lot of people, since I posted my initial reaction, have kind of responded like, you know, I kind of saw this, didn't think anything of it. I thought it was just going to be a TV movie or whatever. Like, a lot of people weren't really banking on this being good, or banking on this being a movie that they go and see in theaters. And I feel like it is. I feel like this is a historical epic that we don't get often, and we definitely don't get it in the package that it was given, which was, I haven't seen an African story like this, really. I mean, the only one I've seen similar to it is Black Panther. And the next movie that I'm going to get like this is Black Panther 2. But the fact that this is also based on a real all-woman tribe, the fact that I learned about some tribes that I didn't know about, the Dahomey, the Oyo, and again, I'm not saying it's historically accurate, but the fact that I've never heard of these things, and this is a different look into the late 19th century with slavery and what these tribes had to deal with, and what they had with the colonization from Europe and everything. That's a completely new angle on this type of story. And the fact that you get Viola Davis as an absolute tough badass, she was incredible in this movie, but she's not the only thing. She was incredible. I thought John Boyega did a great job. He plays the king of the tribe that Viola Davis belongs to. Lashana Lynch, obviously from Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. I don't think I've seen her. Oh, and she was in No Time to Die. So I've only seen her in Blockbuster Fair. This is easily my favorite Lashana Lynch performance and my favorite Lashana Lynch movie. I thought she did a great job in it. She kind of plays like the second lieutenant to Viola Davis, and I think she's awesome. Huge knockout performance from someone I've never heard of before. I believe her name is Thuzo Beidou. I might pronounce that wrong, but she plays a young female warrior who's kind of not recruited. She was kind of given to this tribe to become a warrior, and she is an actress from South Africa, and she is incredible in this movie. All the performances, a lot of the actors I'm not familiar with, a lot of the actors are young and up and coming, and everybody crushes it. The production aspect was fantastic. I love the way that it was shot. All of it was super, super practical. I didn't notice a single effects shot. Now, I'm not saying that they aren't in there. I didn't notice a single special effects shot, though. I'm sure like some of the weapons were digital, but honestly, it felt so real, and it felt like a movie that we haven't gotten in a long time, but we don't get often. So I loved that it was very just real, and it was also just emotional. Like this felt like sort of like a biblical story. I mean, it's about heroes rising to the occasion. It's about redemption. It's about rebirth. There's a lot going on, but there's also, and I hate to relate it to like a fantasy television show, but there's also some like Game of Thrones aspects to it too. I mean, there's that political intrigue, and so all that kind of stuff that everybody kind of seems to be. I guess I bring it up because everybody seems to be interested in that kind of stuff right now. So I'm trying to point at this movie and tell you that it's going to give you a lot of this kind of stuff. So I really, really recommend seeing it in theaters. I think it's fantastic. There's nothing I didn't like about this movie. There's nothing. I'm not gonna go watch it in theaters again, but I can't wait to watch it again at home and like show friends and show people, because this is one of the year's best movies. I think it's automatically in my top 5. A lot of the stuff so far, like Prey and a couple of other movies that I really like, but as time goes on, they kind of started to fall probably where they belong in the year. And I don't feel this is hyperbolic. I feel like I'm gonna be on board with this movie until the end of the year. So it might not stay in my top 5, but it's a contender for best movie of the year so far. And I can't wait to see more reactions. I hope that the word of mouth really helps this movie, and I hope to hear from it during award season, because I think it absolutely deserves. There's a lot of great costume work and production design that went into this, and again, the acting's fantastic. So, The Woman King is a big thumbs up for me. Big thumbs up. So definitely go and check that out. All right, lastly, guys, I just wanted to tell you real quick. I don't have a whole lot to say about this movie, but I did see Clerks 3. It was a special presentation. It's actually been several days since I've seen it. I saw it on Tuesday. Kevin Smith and the View Askew universe, it's something that I'm new to, I'm recent to. It was one of the first things that PJ and I did when I moved to Arizona. So Kevin Smith, it's kind of been a part of my Arizona era. And so 3 years ago, I believe, right about this time, that's when I saw Jay and Silent Bob reboot in theaters, and it was very similar as a special presentation, so it was just like this. So that it was kind of nice to do that again, because I had such a positive experience watching his movies for the first time, and positive experience doing that, and that was a lot of fun. And I believe one of the things that I said back then was that it kind of just felt like an inside joke amongst a group of people. Like, it's not as big as like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, where everybody talks about the storytelling and the beats that those movies hit. But Kevin Smith, because he doesn't come up often and his movies don't come up often in everyday life, but he also has such a tight-knit fan base that I wasn't even privy to until a couple of years ago. And I barely feel like I'm a part of it. But watching this movie, it just kind of felt like truly it was for us, the people that were in that theater, that because it was a special event, everyone there was there because Kevin Smith means something to them. And these characters mean something to them, and this franchise, it's just a different kind of thing than when you like walk in to say, watch Barbarian. That's its own unique thing, but it's like an inside joke. It's like family almost. Even though, again, I feel like I'm disconnected from that. but I recognize it. And I had that experience yet again. I had the feeling that everybody was there to just enjoy this final story, this final chapter in this Clerks franchise, I guess you could call it, oddly enough. And it was a lot of fun. The movie surprised me because the way that it's sold is that it's about a movie within a movie, which it very much is. Kevin Smith definitely, over these last two movies that he's done, has applied his real life activities and experiences into these films. And again, the premise, I believe, that was told in the trailer is that Randall gets a heart attack and then has this comeuppance where he wants to make a movie and do something with his life. So all that kind of stuff resonates and it works. This movie has more going on and it's way more emotional than I ever imagined. Um, the mileage may vary because I think Kevin Smith movies are for a particular crowd. And so, yeah, if I wanted to rip apart like some of the dialogue and some of the jokes, do they always land? Do these scenes go on too long? Are they written too long? Is the acting great? Like, I can do all that, but I feel like these movies have an awareness that it's just different. So Clerks 3 is not for anybody to just walk into a theater and watch and it'd be their first Clerks movie. It's not for those people. Um, so anyway, I found it to be very emotional and a pretty great cap to what these movies are, and a great cap. And I have to say, it's like the end of an era for Kevin Smith. I feel like I feel like his filmmaking from here on out is bound to be completely different, or at least like go back to some other stuff that he's interested in. But this was just a nice little thing to sit down and watch, and it was relaxing. It was kind of fun to just kind of sit down with old friends and just see what they're up to. And that's really what it felt like. And it's why I don't feel the need to kind of go into, what may or may not work in another movie, because it just doesn't need to do that. So anyway, I had a positive Clerks 3 experience, and I just figured I'd go on and give you that reaction to that. And I think that's it. Next week, oh, I will say, please look up at the QR code up here. I don't have it out here. Let me put it up. Where is it? There it is. So find this QR code right here, scan it with your phone. You can get a 30-day free trial of Audible on me. It's probably the best way to support everything that I'm doing because I get the most money out of it. So go to 30-day free trial of Audible and then just unsubscribe if you want. That would really help me out and mean a lot to me. Next week on the schedule, Don't Worry, Darling. Now I'm really excited to watch Don't Worry, Darling. I just feel like it's the conversation piece of the fall. And there's also Blonde on Netflix. I have no idea what I'm gonna do with that. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it. I don't know if I'm gonna, because it's 3 hours. I don't know if I'm gonna need to watch it in pieces based on how heavy it is. So I'm not gonna say definitively what my plan is for Blonde, or if I'm even gonna watch it. But Don't Worry, Darling is definitely gonna be covered next week, and I'm really excited. Up until a couple weeks ago, it was my most anticipated thing of the fall. I have probably a healthier mentality going in. Now I'm just there to see Florence Pugh, and I'm going to eat it up if it's a train wreck. I'm gonna have fun with it. I'm not gonna enjoy it at its expense. I have more awareness now. So I'm excited to cover Don't Worry, Darling next week. Again, so the watch-alongs, the horror watch-alongs, they're gonna start in October. And my plan, again, it was one a day. I should have finished this earlier. I think what's going to happen is I'm going to get 18 out. So that means that it's every weekday, excluding the days that I'm in Kentucky. I'm in Kentucky for 5 days, technically 3 weekdays, but 5 days over the weekend. So if I do one for every weekday, but excluding when I'm gone and not on the weekends, I think I'll have 18 watch-alongs in October. That's my plan. And it's kind of a nice bookend because the last movie, I believe, if I do that, is Misery, which was the movie I was most looking forward to, because Misery, fun fact, was the movie that came out the weekend of my birth. Yeah, it was the weekend in November 28th is my birthday. So I think that Friday was a 30th or something like that. But Misery is the movie that came out on my birth weekend. So I thought that was kind of cool to bookend on a 1990 film that I haven't seen before. That was another project I wanted to work on for a long time, was movies from the year 1990 that I hadn't seen, the year of my birth. But that's for another discussion. Anyway, so I'm looking to release 18 watch-alongs, horror watch-alongs in October. And depending on what they do on YouTube, I have no idea what to expect. I'll probably do more for just any random movie. I had the idea to do it for Dragon Ball Evolution. As someone who's never seen that movie, someone who is a childhood Dragon Ball Z fan, someone who knows that it's a terrible film, I felt like that would be just a great movie for me to watch along. So, anyway, you can expect that coming up on the channel. Guys, thank you so much for checking out Watch Diary or listening to Watch Diary. I greatly appreciate it. And I will see you on the next one next week.